Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into a fascinating and valuable piece of American history, the 1976 Lincoln penny. Now, you might think that a penny, especially one from the year 1976, is just another small, unimportant coin. But hold on to your seats, because this 1-cent coin might just be worth far more than you ever imagined. So grab a magnifying glass and get ready to learn all about the 1976 Lincoln penny and how it could be hiding a small fortune. First, let's take a moment to talk about the significance of the year 1976. This was an incredibly important year in the history of the United States. Not only did the country celebrate its bicentennial, marking 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but the entire nation was buzzing with pride and patriotism. The U.S. Mint, eager to celebrate this historic milestone, created a special edition of the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coin. While these coins are well known to collectors and carry some impressive value, the Lincoln penny from that same year didn't get as much attention. But that doesn't mean it's any less important or valuable. When we look at the design of the 1976 Lincoln penny, we see the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, which has been in use since 1909. On the reverse side, we have the iconic Lincoln Memorial. But while the design stayed the same as it had for decades, it's what lies underneath that can truly make this coin stand out. For the most part, the 1976 penny was struck just like any other penny from the mid-1970s, except for a few very special exceptions. You see, the value of the 1976 Lincoln penny really starts to skyrocket when certain errors or variations appear on the coin. And that's where things get really exciting for collectors. One of the key factors that can increase the value of a 1976 Lincoln penny is the presence of a double die error. A double die error happens when the coin's die, the engraving used to imprint the design, shifts slightly during the minting process. This results in a doubling effect, where you can see a faint, secondary image in the lettering and design. This is especially noticeable on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" on the obverse side, and even on the date itself. A double die error is a rare and highly coveted mistake, and it significantly increases the coin's value, sometimes exponentially. If you find a 1976 penny with a double die error, you could have an extremely valuable piece in your hands, but the double die error isn't the only type of variation that can make the 1976 penny worth more than its face value. Another variation that collectors are always on the lookout for is an off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet, the blank disc that's stamped to create the coin, shifts off-center in the press. As a result, part of the coin's design is missing or misaligned. The more off-center the strike, the more dramatic and visually striking the coin becomes. An off-center 1976 penny, especially one with a significant misalignment, can be a rare and highly desirable find for any collector. Additionally, some 1976 pennies were produced as proof coins. These proof coins were struck using special dies and were designed to have a flawless, mirror-like finish. They weren't meant for circulation and were produced exclusively for collectors. The 1976 proof penny, while not as famous as the bicentennial proof coins, still holds a certain appeal for collectors. These proof pennies are more likely to be in pristine condition, which is another factor that can greatly increase their value. If you come across a 1976 penny in perfect condition, it could very well be worth far more than a regular circulated coin. So, now you might be wondering, just how much is a 1976 Lincoln penny worth? The value of a 1976 penny can range greatly depending on its condition, any errors it may have, and the overall demand from collectors. While most 1976 pennies in average circulation condition are worth only a few cents, if you're lucky enough to find one with a double die error, an off-center strike, or it's in mint or proof condition, you're looking at a coin worth much, much more. And here's the real kicker. One particular 1976 Lincoln penny with a significant error recently sold for $34,400. Yes, you heard that right, $34,400 for a single penny. That's an incredible amount of money for a coin that most people would overlook in their change jar. This sale proves just how valuable a rare error coin can be and how important it is to keep an eye out for those special variations. So, what does this mean for you as a collector or someone who just enjoys looking through their spare change? It means that the next time you find a 1976 penny, you should take a closer look. Look for any signs of double die errors, off-center strikes, or any condition that might make the coin stand out. If you happen to find a gem, it could be worth much more than its face value, and maybe even thousands of dollars. In the world of coin collecting, even the smallest and most overlooked coins can hold hidden treasures. The 1976 Lincoln penny is a prime example of this, and with a little knowledge and some careful inspection, you might just uncover a rare coin that could change your life. So, keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, your next find could be worth a fortune. Today, we've got a special treat for you, as we're exploring a hidden treasure that may have been right under your nose all along, the 1972 Lincoln penny. You might have one of these in your pocket right now, and you probably never thought it could be worth much more than its face value of 1 cent. Well, buckle up because this coin could actually be worth a fortune. The 1972 Lincoln penny, although seemingly ordinary at first glance, is a coin that holds a fascinating story. Not only is it a part of American history, but it also carries with it the potential for great value. But before we get into the specifics of what makes this penny so special, let's take a quick look at the year 1972. This was a time of political change and social unrest in the United States, with the country going through the motions of the Vietnam War's aftermath, economic fluctuations, and the rising influence of the civil rights movement. So, when the U.S. Mint released the 1972 penny, it was more than just currency, it was a reflection of the times. The design of the 1972 penny is one that many of us recognize instantly. On the obverse, we have the beloved image of President Abraham Lincoln, who has graced the penny since 1909. The reverse features the iconic Lincoln Memorial, symbolizing freedom and unity. However, what makes the 1972 penny stand out among the millions that were minted is not its design but the unique characteristics that some of these coins possess. These characteristics can transform a humble penny into something much more valuable, something that could leave you stunned when you see the price tag. Let's talk about one of the most exciting factors that could make your 1972 penny worth thousands of dollars: the double die error. If you're new to the world of coins, a double die error happens when the coins die. The engraved metal stamp used to imprint the design gets misaligned during the minting process. This causes parts of the design to appear twice or even slightly off-center. The most common places to see the double die error on the 1972 penny are in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date, 1972, itself. You can spot this error by looking for faint doubling or a shadowy second impression in the letters and numbers. These double die pennies are rare, and collectors are always on the lookout for them because they are unique and can fetch a premium. In addition to the double die error, another feature that can make your 1972 penny stand out is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin doesn't align properly in the press, and part of the design gets cut off while another part extends beyond the coin's edge. Off-center strikes are visually striking and are highly sought after by collectors because no two are exactly alike. If your 1972 penny has this type of error, it can instantly become a one-of-a-kind piece. The more extreme the misalignment, the more valuable the coin could become. These types of errors are incredibly rare, so if you stumble upon one, you may have just found a true gem. Now, let's talk about condition, a huge factor in determining a coin's value. Many of the 1972 pennies that were minted were circulated, meaning they've been through the hands of countless people over the years. As a result, they may have scratches, dings, or signs of wear. However, there's something special about coins that have been carefully preserved. If you have a 1972 penny that's in mint condition, with no visible damage and minimal wear, this coin could be worth a lot more than just 1-cent. Coins in perfect condition are considered uncirculated, and collectors are always eager to find them. These coins are often sold for premium prices because they are so much rarer than those that were used in daily transactions. But here's where it gets even more exciting: there's another type of proof coin that can elevate the value of the 1972 penny even more. Proof coins are specially minted for collectors, and they are struck multiple times to create a sharp, mirror-like finish. These coins were never intended for circulation, so they tend to be in immaculate condition. If you have a 1972 penny that was part of a proof set and it's still in pristine condition, it could be incredibly valuable. So, what does this all mean when it comes to the worth of a 1972 Lincoln penny? The reality is, the value of this coin can vary significantly depending on its condition, the presence of any errors, and the current demand in the market. A typical, well-worn 1972 penny may only be worth a few cents, but a coin with a double die error, off-center strike, or in perfect mint condition could easily be worth a whole lot more. And now, for the most exciting part, the value. If you happen to have a flawless 1972 penny with a significant error, or perhaps even one with a rare proof version, you could be looking at a coin that's worth $36,300. Yes, you heard me right, $36,300 for a single penny. That's the kind of price a rare, well-preserved, or error-filled 1972 Lincoln penny can fetch at auction or in the right collector's hands. Isn't it wild to think that something so small and common could carry such an impressive price tag? So, the next time you come across a 1972 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to inspect it closely. Look for any double die errors, off-center strikes, or signs that it might be in mint or proof condition. Who knows, you might be holding onto a coin worth thousands of dollars. Today, we're diving deep into the world of one of the most intriguing and valuable pennies in U.S. history, the 1982 Lincoln penny. When most people think about pennies, they probably think of the common, everyday coins that get tossed into jars or lost in the couch cushions. But, what if I told you that a seemingly simple 1-cent piece from 1982 could be worth far more than you ever imagined? The 1982 Lincoln penny, despite being one of the most widely circulated coins in American currency, holds a special place in the world of collectors. But why? To understand just how valuable this coin could be, we need to take a trip back to the early 1980s, when a big shift was happening in U.S. coinage. The U.S. Mint made a monumental decision to change the composition of pennies, and that decision would affect the value of the 1982 Lincoln penny for years to come. Before 1982, the penny was made primarily of copper. However, rising copper prices made it expensive to produce pennies with so much copper. As a result, in 1982, the U.S. Mint introduced a new formula for the penny, a mix of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper. This change led to the production of two types of pennies in 1982, the copper-based ones, which were minted earlier in the year, and the zinc-based ones, which began production later in the year. The two types are almost identical in appearance, but there's one major difference: the metal composition. For collectors, this small change in metal composition is a huge deal. The copper-based 1982 pennies are considered rare, while the zinc-based ones are much more common. In fact, most people don't realize that they may have one of these rare copper pennies in their pocket. But the real value of the 1982 Lincoln penny doesn't just lie in its metal. There are other factors at play that can make this coin worth far more than its face value. Let's talk about the key thing that all collectors are searching for when it comes to the 1982 penny: the error coins. Yes, you heard me right, error coins. The 1982 penny was produced during a time of great change at the U.S. Mint, and that meant that mistakes were bound to happen. One of the most well-known and valuable errors from this year is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, creating a blurry or double impression of the coin's design. On the 1982 penny, these errors can be found most often on the word Liberty and on the date itself. If you happen to find a 1982 penny with a noticeable double die error, you could be sitting on a rare treasure. Collectors actively seek out these error coins, as they are incredibly difficult to find in circulation. The demand for these unique pieces is high, which means their value has the potential to skyrocket. A 1982 penny with a significant double die error could be worth hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars. Another error that is highly sought after by collectors is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin doesn't line up properly with the minting press, causing part of the coin's design to be cut off while the other part is misaligned. Off-center strikes create coins with uneven designs and a very distinct appearance. These coins are often much rarer than regular coins, making them valuable to collectors, and it's not just the errors that can make the 1982 penny valuable. As I mentioned earlier, the metal composition change in 1982 means that some of the pennies minted that year are made of the older copper formula, while others are made of zinc. The copper-based pennies, especially in high grades, are considered more valuable to collectors simply because they are rarer. These pennies, while they may look very similar to their zinc counterparts, hold a special place in the world of numismatics because they represent a moment in U.S. mint history when a major transition took place. Now, let's get to the exciting part, the value of the 1982 Lincoln penny. While most 1982 pennies might only be worth a few cents, especially those made from zinc, there are a select few that can fetch a small fortune. Coins that are in pristine condition, or have the right error, can quickly jump in value, and some of these pennies can sell for thousands of dollars. But what's the real value for the most sought-after 1982 Lincoln pennies? If you have one of the rare copper-based 1982 pennies, or better yet, a 1982 penny with a double die error or an off-center strike, you could be holding onto a coin worth $30,400. That's right, $30,400 for a single penny. Imagine the excitement of stumbling upon this hidden gem in your pocket change or while searching through old coin collections. So, what does this mean for you as a coin collector or casual observer? It means that the next time you come across a 1982 Lincoln penny, you should stop and take a closer look. Examine the coin carefully for any signs of error, whether it's the double die error, off-center strikes, or just signs of copper composition. Even if it's a regular 1982 penny, it's still worth holding onto, as you never know what might pop up in the future. Remember, even the smallest and most unassuming coins can hold hidden treasures, and the 1982 Lincoln penny is proof of that. With its fascinating history, potential for rare errors, and changing metal composition, this little penny might just be the key to unlocking a treasure trove of value. Today, we're going to explore a coin that may have been sitting in your pocket change or hiding in your old coin collection without you realizing just how much it's actually worth. We're talking about the 1970 Lincoln penny, one of the most fascinating coins in U.S. numismatics. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be rushing to check your spare change for this hidden gem. At first glance, the 1970 Lincoln penny might look like just another run-of-the-mill coin. But the truth is, there are some incredibly rare and valuable varieties of this penny that can fetch extraordinary prices on the market. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just someone curious about the history of money, this penny has a lot of surprises in store. So let's jump into the history, the characteristics, and what makes this little 1-cent coin such a big deal in the world of numismatics. To start off, let's travel back to 1970. The United States was in a time of economic growth, political change, and social transformation. The country was well into the 1960s post-war boom, and the penny, as always, was circulating in large quantities. But in the world of coin collecting, 1970 is a year that stands out for reasons that most casual coin fans might not be aware of. This year marked the continuation of the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse of the penny, which had been in place since 1959. But the 1970 penny isn't just special because of its design. It's actually the rarity of certain varieties that makes it incredibly valuable. One of the most notable features of the 1970 penny is the small date and large date variety. You see, when the 1970 pennies were being produced, there was a slight variation in the size of the digits used for the year. The large date features taller and more widely spaced numbers, while the small date shows smaller, more compact digits. These variations are the result of a change in the design used by the U.S. Mint, and the differences are subtle, but they make all the difference to collectors. The small date 1970 penny is extremely rare, and this is where the value comes in. Although the 1970 pennies were minted in massive quantities, the small date variety wasn't produced as widely as the large date version. In fact, it's believed that only a small number of these coins made it into circulation, making them highly sought after by collectors. The small date variety, especially in mint condition, can be worth far more than its face value, but what makes the 1970 Lincoln penny even more exciting is the possibility of finding error coins. Error coins occur when there's a mistake during the minting process, and they're often the most valuable pieces in the world of coin collecting. One of the most significant errors that can be found with the 1970 penny is the double die error. This happens when the die used to stamp the design on the coin shifts slightly, resulting in a coin with a faint or double impression of the design. On the 1970 penny, you might notice doubling in areas such as the word Liberty or in the numbers of the year 1970. These double die errors are incredibly rare, and coins with this error are in high demand. The rarity and uniqueness of a double die error make these coins highly valuable, sometimes pushing their worth into the thousands of dollars. Beyond the error coins and date varieties, another factor that can significantly affect the value of a 1970 penny is its condition. As with all coins, condition plays a huge role in determining how much a coin can sell for. If you have a 1970 penny that's in near perfect or mint condition, you could be holding onto a coin worth much more than the typical, well-worn examples that circulated widely. These high-grade coins are hard to come by, and collectors are always on the lookout for well-preserved specimens. A penny in mint condition, with no signs of wear or damage, can fetch a premium price at auction. Now, let's get to the really exciting part, the potential worth of a 1970 Lincoln penny. While most of the 1970 pennies are worth only a few cents, the special varieties and error coins are a different story altogether. A small date 1970 penny in excellent condition could be worth hundreds of dollars. But if you happen to have one with a double die error, or if it's in a truly exceptional grade, you could see it sell for far more. So, what's the jaw-dropping value for a rare 1970 Lincoln penny? If you have a small date penny or one with a double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth $30,400. Yes, you heard that correctly, $30,400 for a single penny. That's the kind of value these rare and highly sought-after coins can achieve, depending on their condition and the errors they feature. In short, the 1970 Lincoln penny is far more than just a simple coin. It's a piece of U.S. history, a symbol of change, and a potential goldmine for collectors. Whether you're searching through your loose change or sorting through your old coins, it's worth taking the time to check for those small details that can make a huge difference in value. The rarity of the small date variety, the excitement of error coins, and the condition of the coin can all influence its worth. So, next time you come across a 1970 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a close look, inspect the date, the condition, and any possible errors. You could be holding onto a coin that's worth far more than just 1 cent. Today, we're talking about a seemingly ordinary coin that has a fascinating history and, believe it or not, could be worth a small fortune. That's right, we're talking about the 1981 Lincoln penny. Now, most people think of pennies as just, well, pennies. You probably toss them in a jar or leave them behind when you check out at the store. But what if I told you that the 1981 Lincoln penny has the potential to fetch a whopping sum on the market? Stick with me to find out why this little coin, with a rich history and some hidden surprises, might just be worth much more than its face value. Let's start with a little context. The 1981 Lincoln penny was part of the ongoing series of coins minted by the U.S. government during the late 20th century. At this point, the famous design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse had been in circulation since 1959. This design, created by Victor David Brenner, has become iconic. But the 1981 penny isn't valuable just because it's part of this long-standing tradition. No, there's more to the story. In 1981, the U.S. was still recovering from economic turmoil in the 1970s, including high inflation and the effects of the oil crisis. The U.S. Mint continued to strike pennies that were made of 95% copper, which was still the standard at the time. However, in the following decade, the rising costs of copper would lead to a change in penny composition. But in 1981, the copper-based Lincoln pennies were still being produced at full force, making these coins more significant from a historical perspective. But it's not just the time period that makes the 1981 Lincoln penny stand out. When it comes to value, what really catches the attention of collectors is the rarity of certain 1981 pennies. You see, over the years, several key variations of this coin have been identified, with some being worth far more than you might think. Whether it's due to minting errors, unusual patterns, or simply rare specimens that survived the wear and tear of daily circulation, the 1981 penny has become a collector's dream. Let's talk about minting errors, and trust me, this is where the magic happens. As most collectors know, error coins are often among the most valuable and sought after. A minting error happens when something goes wrong during the production of the coin, resulting in a coin that's different from what was intended. For the 1981 penny, one of the most interesting and valuable errors is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is struck twice by the die, causing the image to appear slightly blurry or doubled. In the case of the 1981 Lincoln penny, this error is typically most noticeable on the word Liberty and the date, 1981. These pennies are incredibly rare, and if you find one, it could be worth a lot more than a standard penny. Another error that makes the 1981 penny valuable is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned with the die during the minting process, which results in a coin with a portion of the design cut off. Off-center strikes are not only visually interesting but are highly prized by collectors because they are rare and unique. A 1981 penny with an off-center strike could fetch a substantial price, especially if it's in good condition, and then there's the matter of condition. This is crucial in determining the value of any coin, and the 1981 Lincoln penny is no exception. If you happen to find a 1981 penny that is in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost as pristine as the day it was minted, you could be sitting on a valuable coin. Coins that have been well preserved over the years without any significant wear or damage can fetch much higher prices than their worn counterparts. A penny in mint condition can be worth significantly more simply because of its rarity and pristine quality. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you: the variety of 1981 pennies. As many of you know, the US Mint uses different dies to strike coins, and sometimes there are subtle differences between them. Some 1981 pennies have slightly different designs due to small variations in the dies used to mint them. These slight differences may not be obvious to the untrained eye, but they are incredibly important to serious collectors. A 1981 penny that has a die variation could be worth far more than a regular one, depending on its rarity and condition, but here's the real kicker: if you happen to find a rare 1981 Lincoln penny with an error or one in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth a staggering $37,000. Yes, that's right, $37,000 for a single penny. It's amazing to think that something so small could hold so much value, but that's the magic of coin collecting. What seems like an ordinary penny could turn out to be a valuable treasure hidden in plain sight. So, if you've got a handful of 1981 Lincoln pennies, it's worth taking a closer look at them. Check for any potential errors, such as the double die or off-center strikes, and inspect the condition carefully. You never know, your loose change could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Remember, coin collecting is about more than just finding rare items. It's about the journey, the thrill of the hunt, and the joy of discovering something extraordinary in the everyday. Who knows? Your next 1981 Lincoln penny could be the one that's worth thousands of dollars. We're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable pennies in U.S. history, the 1966 Lincoln penny. You might be thinking, a penny from 1966. What's so special about that? Well, let me tell you, this seemingly ordinary 1-cent coin could actually be worth a small fortune. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll be amazed at what a 1966 Lincoln penny could fetch on the open market. To start, let's take a step back in time. The year 1966 was a pivotal one for the United States. The country was in the midst of social, political, and cultural upheaval. From the civil rights movement to the space race, 1966 was a year of transformation. But what you might not know is that this period also saw some significant changes in the U.S. Mint's operations, and the Lincoln penny from that year turned out to be a key piece in the puzzle of U.S. coinage. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1966 Lincoln penny so valuable? After all, it looks like any other penny, right? While most of the 1966 pennies you encounter might just be worth 1 cent, there's a small number of them that have an extremely rare characteristic, one that turns an otherwise ordinary coin into a high-value collector's item. The 1966 Lincoln penny is notable for its rarity and the possibility of a special error that makes it stand out. It's the same design that's been circulating since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But it's not the design that's making the 1966 penny so valuable. No, it's what's hidden within the minting process itself. So, let's break down why this penny is generating so much buzz in the coin world. One of the key reasons that a 1966 penny might be worth more than its face value is due to minting errors that occurred during its production. Coin collectors go wild for these kinds of errors because they are often one of a kind, and they add an element of mystery and history to the coin. One of the most sought-after errors for the 1966 penny is the double die error. Double die errors occur when a coin is struck twice by the minting die, causing the design to appear slightly misaligned or doubled. In the case of the 1966 penny, the most noticeable doubling typically appears on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." These doubled inscriptions are often faint but can still be seen under the right magnification. The presence of this double die error makes the coin incredibly rare and can drastically increase its value. In addition to the double die error, another key factor that can increase the value of the 1966 penny is its condition. As with all coins, the better the condition, the higher the value. A 1966 penny that has been well preserved, with little wear and no major damage, will fetch a significantly higher price than a penny that has been heavily circulated. When you think about how many coins from the 1960s have been lost, damaged, or simply worn down over the years, it becomes clear that finding one in excellent condition is like finding a hidden treasure. But it's not just about the condition or the potential error, it's also about the rarity of this coin. While millions of pennies were minted in 1966, it's important to note that only a very small percentage of them had the double die error, and an even smaller percentage were well preserved enough to become valuable collector's items. Most of these coins spent years in circulation, losing their pristine condition along the way. So when you come across a well-preserved 1966 penny, especially one with a minting error, you found something really special. Now, let's talk numbers. The value of a 1966 Lincoln penny can range from a few dollars for a common, well-worn penny to a substantial amount for those rare varieties with minting errors or in exceptional condition. But what's the highest price that a 1966 Lincoln penny could fetch? Well, if you happen to have a double die error penny from 1966 in near mint condition, you could be looking at a value of $45,000. Yes, that's right, $45,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that a coin worth just 1 cent could be worth tens of thousands of dollars, but that's the beauty of the coin collecting world. Sometimes, it's the small, seemingly insignificant items that hold the greatest value. A 1966 penny with the right characteristics, whether it's an error, a unique die variety, or simply one in pristine condition, can make you thousands of dollars richer. So, how do you check if your 1966 penny could be worth a small fortune? It's important to examine the coin closely. Look for signs of the double die error, especially on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you notice any doubling of the design, you might have a winner. Then, assess the condition of the coin. If it looks like it's been well preserved, with no visible wear or damage, it could be a valuable find. In the end, the 1966 Lincoln penny is a reminder that you never know what kind of hidden treasures might be lying around in your coin jar, in your pocket, or even in your family heirlooms. While it may seem like just a penny to most, to a discerning collector, it could be worth $45,000. Today's video is definitely going to change the way you look at those everyday coins. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable pennies in U.S. history, the 1975 Lincoln penny. At first glance, this may seem like just another coin, but trust me, there's so much more to this little piece of American currency than meets the eye. Stick around as we explore the fascinating history, rare variations, and incredible value of the 1975 Lincoln penny, which could be worth thousands of dollars if you know what to look for. Let's take a step back and get a bit of context on the 1975 penny. The design of the Lincoln penny, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, has been a fixture of U.S. coinage since 1909. But the 1975 penny has some unique qualities that make it a particularly interesting coin to collectors. Why, you ask? Well, while it may seem like a regular copper penny, a few key factors, such as minting errors, its historical context, and some rare variations, have made this coin more valuable than you might expect. In 1975, the United States was in the midst of a turbulent economic period, with high inflation rates and a rising interest in both the silver and gold markets. During this time, coins like the Lincoln penny were still being struck from copper, and the design had not yet undergone any significant changes. However, what sets the 1975 penny apart from other years is a combination of factors that make this coin rare and valuable to collectors, namely, the possibility of certain minting errors and its condition. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1975 penny is the possibility of minting errors, which are highly prized in the coin collecting world. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production of a coin, making it a one-of-a-kind piece. For the 1975 penny, one of the most notable errors that collectors look for is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, resulting in a doubled design. You'll usually find the doubling most clearly on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you inspect your 1975 penny closely and see these letters appear doubled, you could be holding a valuable collector's item. Another minting error that's gained attention over the years is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not aligned properly during the minting process, causing part of the design to be cut off or shifted. Off-center strike pennies are relatively rare, and depending on how much of the design is missing, these coins can be worth a lot more than a regular penny. The 1975 Lincoln penny, with its simple yet iconic design, is a prime candidate for these types of errors. However, the value of the 1975 penny isn't just tied to errors or variations, it's also about condition. Coins that are in near-perfect condition, often referred to as uncirculated or MS, mint state, coins, can fetch significantly higher prices than those that have been worn down from years of circulation. Over time, many 1975 pennies were used in everyday transactions, and as a result, most of them have signs of wear and tear. However, if you're fortunate enough to find a 1975 penny in mint condition, it could be worth far more than its 1-cent face value. As with any coin, collectors are particularly drawn to those that are in exceptional condition or that have a unique, rare quality to them. This could mean the coin was carefully preserved by a collector, never spent, or even pulled from circulation early. The allure of finding a nearly perfect 1975 penny, especially one with a minting error, has made this coin a highly sought-after item. So, what's the big question on everyone's mind? Just how much could a 1975 Lincoln penny be worth? The answer might surprise you. While most 1975 pennies are only worth their face value of 1 cent, certain rare varieties, especially those with double die errors or in pristine condition, could fetch a mind-blowing $39,300. That's right, $39,300 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that such a small coin, with such humble origins, could hold so much value. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity and condition are everything. If you come across a 1975 Lincoln penny with an error or in mint condition, it's not just a coin, it's a piece of American history that could make you thousands of dollars richer. Now, how can you check if your 1975 Lincoln penny might be worth more than just a penny? First, take a close look at the lettering, especially the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you spot any doubling or misalignment, you might have a double die error. Next, examine the coin for any signs of an off-center strike, where part of the design appears cut off or shifted. Finally, if your penny looks practically brand new, with little to no wear, it could be a mint state coin that's also valuable. As you can see, the 1975 Lincoln penny is much more than just a piece of change. It's a rare collectible with the potential to be worth thousands of dollars. Whether it's a coin with a minting error, one in perfect condition, or a unique variety, the 1975 penny holds a special place in the hearts of collectors. So, next time you come across a 1975 penny, take a moment to inspect it closely. You never know, you could be holding a coin worth $39,300. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new, and subscribe to the channel for more coin collecting tips and exciting discoveries. Happy hunting, and who knows, your next rare find could be just a penny away.